Hello and welcome. You're watching Closing Trades here on ET. Now we are holding on to 26K by the skin of our teeth. At least a third of a percent higher on the Nifty, and from the day's low, we're doing fairly well for ourselves. We're up 125 points from the day's lows, so a decent kind of move, and we're off around 40 points from the day's high. Again, a decently tight band in which we've operated. We've been in the green more than we've been in the red, which is the other key positive. In terms of names which are carrying the index higher, Max Health is one, 4.3 odd percent higher. HCL Tech is 4% higher, impressive move. Infi is up nearly 3.5%. Wipro, TCS, basically it's the five IT players which are carrying the index higher for sure. But outside of that, HUL is doing very well for itself. So is Sun Pharma, also chipping in and contributing to the gains, along with the one which I mentioned, which was Max Health, which is doing fairly well for itself. When I'm combining the points contributions by some of the IT players, at least the top three, Infi, HCL Tech and TCS, they're contributing roughly 60 to 70 points on the index, and that is causing that meaningful jump that we're seeing on the index today. So clearly it's the IT stocks which are carrying the index higher. Let's look at banks. 50% higher on the banking index. FMCG, despite the move by HUL, is absolutely flat. In fact, just a slight tinge of green on the FMCG index. So is the metal index, very, very similar, and the pharma index. Realty continues to be under some bit of pressure, with broader markets also under some bit of pressure, especially the small cap index, down a third of a percent thereabouts. The Nifty mid cap index is around a quarter of a percent or so. Kunal, this move, firstly, good afternoon. This move to 26K this time around, is the story going to be different?
That's the hope which we have every time. Fifth time this is
Yes.
for the index to retest the 26,000 mark. Yeah, the belief is that this time around, many of the other moving parts for the markets indicate that the weaker sectors are making a comeback. Your opening line of the Nifty IT index being one of the key prominent indices, and many stocks within the IT pack led by Infosys, TCS, HCL Tech, etc., large cap names, I think are helping the benchmark indices sustain this kind of a gain. So that I believe could be a positive sign which you're looking out for. And add to the fact the PSU banking names led by the likes of SBI, short covering or recovery across the likes of Bank of Baroda, PNB, Canbank, etc., I think is the other one which is fueling the market. So that I believe is a very important ingredient. We were discussing about the PSU banking stocks over the last few weeks and how the sector has been quite strong. But then with every attempt towards 26,000 mark, you have new addition in sectors which are participating. That is an improving sign of the market breadth. Maybe I think we can hope that this time around we will finally break past about this 26K hurdle for the fifth time in terms of the retest, and hopefully get past about the life highs pretty soon for the indices.
And Kunal, what gives you that possible confidence, if I can call it that we will not slip? Because you've got banks and IT, so banks are at all-time highs in terms of the Nifty banking index. IT has made a phenomenal move today. Can those kind of moves continue? Because only then will we continue to build on the gains that we've seen today.
See, the beauty about markets, Harsh, is that it's a balance between what's happened internally and externally. Internally, we are solid. I mean, in terms of the market breadth, in terms of the structure of the markets, the construct, no complaints as such, because you can't pinpoint, any sector which is extremely weak, except for IT stocks or FMCG, which largely have been more sideways to say the least in the last many weeks. You can't pinpoint a sector which is very, very weak or something which is dragging the indices. You look at large cap names, contributors, even with the heavyweights like L&T, Reliance, etc. These stocks have done fairly well for themselves. So no complaints in terms of the market internals. It was just that over the last couple of days and for the last 1 week, the selling across the global markets were putting a bit of a lid or a cap for the indices on the upside. But when the market breadth keeps on improving by every passing day, sector data points keeps on improving, then you eventually come to a point where the markets are gearing up for a breakout on the upside. We are at that kind of a cusp in terms of a breakout, if you ask me. Now, whether the global markets will oblige, if that happens, then you might probably expect the breakout of the life highs in the next couple of days itself.
Do you think that IT is leading this breakout for the Nifty here? Because 75 points up, the entire IT pack, and the Nifty is of 110 points. So it's entirely IT led actually today.
Yeah, in fact, the last time we were at 26,000 mark on a sector performance basis, Nifty IT index, PSU banks, and to a certain extent mid cap index. These are the three top performing indices which are done reasonably well. Nifty IT index in the last 2-3 days has gone through a 405, or rather 700 point correction, but then it's managed to recuperate the entire loss of the 700, 800 points in a matter of single day and crossed back above those previous highs. So yes, in this leg, the Nifty IT index seems to be one of the stronger sectors, and along with that, the PSU banking and the mid cap 50 index.
75 points, Sajid, is what IT is contributing. You were just highlighting that to me. 75 points is what IT is contributing to the Nifty 50 combined. This is all IT entities. The top three contributing roughly 65 points to the Nifty. I mentioned that. The others, really no big movers there except healthcare, and that I believe is largely Max Health, which is driving the kind of gains within that sector.
And that's on the back of the earnings that came in, which were very good earnings for Max actually.
Correct, and that was over the weekend, of course. But the stock seeing a move today. Kunal, within IT, what are your top picks?
Yeah, I think after today's move, and of course in cumulation with the previous legs, HCL Tech stands out to be one of the stronger name on the relatively the RS charts, relative strength charts. Then I think there's a very strong breakout which is likely for Infosys. The stock is gearing towards more like a 3-month or a 4-month consolidation breakout, and it's almost like I think 112 to 120 point range for Infosys from 1430, 40 thereabouts towards 1540 odd mark where the range is for Infi. So I think in that sense we could be looking at a substantial upside for many of these large cap IT names. And from the mid cap, and we've been bullish on Persistent for quite some time. The stock has been maintaining its uptrend quite fantastically. Even today the stock has broken past about the key psychological mark of 6,000 and was one of the few large cap mid cap IT names which started to show signs of strength from the first 15 minutes itself. So that was one of the other stock which I would be bullish on.
Okay, now with regard to IT, it's the big mover of the day. So we'll focus in on IT. Does anything change structurally post the earnings, at least in terms of whatever commentary has come through across the board with regard to IT, and how do valuations stack up? Now, Indian IT has made a roaring comeback, frankly. Post the 1st of October, the index is up 8%, 6 to 8% odd. And this optimism around progress in the with regard to the US trade deal is only adding to that. Midcaps leading the surge. Persistent, Coforge, LTI, Mindtree are among the biggest movers. In fact, Ashesha is here to unpack all of this. Ashesha, how have earnings been? And how has IT really performed over the last month and a half? Because the move today is just so strong.
Well, yes, as you rightly mentioned, Nifty IT index is up 6% from the start of October. And let's also talk about individual stocks then. Persistent System is up 27% over the corresponding period, followed by Coforge, HCL Tech, LTI, Mindtree reporting double-digit gains over the period October 1 to date. And we also have some other stocks. Oracle Financial is the only one in the red, down 5%. But Infosys, Mphasis and Wipro have also registered marginal gains over the corresponding period. But Nifty IT index as a whole, as you mentioned, has risen nearly 6% from October 1 to date. Let's also talk about the second quarter earnings that were reported in the intervening period. TCS reported 0.6% revenue growth, although PAT declined by about 5% on a sequential basis. Now, as far as Infosys is concerned, HCL Tech, both of them reported revenue growth in excess of 2.5% sequentially. Wipro, meanwhile, reported 0.7% revenue growth. EBIT margins, meanwhile, were also steady. We didn't see any major negatives or positives as such, but profit after tax, even on an aggregate basis, had declined on a sequential and on a year-on-year basis for the IT sector. Let's also talk about several factors which continue to be a big trigger for the IT index. One is AI. Now, remember, management's indicated that nearly 30 to 80% of the new deal wins that they are signing have AI-led projects. So this is one big trigger which continues to be a tailwind for the IT sector. Deal wins are strong. Management say that conversions continue to remain slow, but despite that, deal wins have started picking up gradually. Mid caps, however, have been more upbeat as compared to large caps. As far as the segment-wise performance is concerned, remember BFSI segment performance was upbeat, but retail and telecom arms reported weak set of numbers. Hiring, meanwhile, continues to remain muted, but utilization is at multi-quarter high. So these are the key factors that transpired IT sector earnings in the second quarter. But let's also talk about some important commentary that has come in from management. TCS, they say deal wins have been strong. Big AI-led data center investment will continue to drive earnings growth for the company going forward. Infosys reported solid, commented on AI. Coforge and Persistent Systems outlook continues to remain very positive. Persistent, in fact, has said that robust double-digit growth is the guidance that they're giving for the next half of the year. Meanwhile, Tech Mahindra, they are saying early signs of stabilization with improving margins. So across the board, the consensus view from the management commentary is that the second half of the year is likely to be very positive, and the outlook with respect to deal wins is also very strong. Now let's also talk about valuations then. As compared to 5-year average, we have Coforge, which trades at about 36 times versus 33 times its 5-year average. So slightly higher than the long-term average. Infosys is cheaper as compared to its 25 times average. Wipro, HCL Tech and LTI Mindtree price to earnings multiple also for you on your screen. So clearly, IT sector is buzzing in trade, up 3% today, and as you mentioned, up 6% since the start of October.
Thanks, Shesha.